Path of Darkness. As I was scrolling through Pinterest, I saw this photo and I just knew this photo will be used for Geto Suguru. So that's why I used this as a reference for today's fan art. This fan art is more on Geto Suguru during Jujutsu Kaisen 0, where he is wearing a Buddhist monk robe and he is in his villain era. Geto Suguru is one of the 4 special grade sorcerers and is deemed the worst of all curse users due to the level of danger he presented to humanity. Surprisingly, Geto Suguru did not start out as evil. Before he became the Geto Suguru in the current timeline of the manga, he was once a student of Tokyo Jujutsu High alongside Satoru Gojo and Shoko Iri. Geto Suguru is a special grade sorcerer with curse spirit manipulation, an innate technique that allows him to control the curses he exorcises and takes in. Back then, his hair was much shorter and he usually ties them up in a bun. Geto has black eyes and bangs that occasionally cover his left eye. His earlobes are large enough to fit fairly large circular earrings. While Gojo behaves nonchalantly on their status as Jujutsu sorcerers, Geto was a strong, principled man. Geto believed that Jujutsu sorcerers exist to protect non-sorcerers. Despite their differences in characters, they were united in their desire to defend and help the weak in the Jujutsu world. By the way, I only knew about this recently, but did you know that Geto was more popular with the women compared to Gojo? I read this somewhere from a person who read this from Gege's interview. I was actually surprised at first with this information, but I can kind of understand it though. Although Gojo is visually more striking, Geto however makes up for it with his personality and calm demeanor. Even after he became a villain, many women joined his cause because of his looks. I don't know, I just found it interesting, but anyway, back to the topic. Geto Suguru alongside Satoru Gojo, his best friend, would go on missions to exorcise curses. One particular mission would change Geto's life and this took place during the Hidden Inventory arc. Geto and Gojo were assigned to escort a girl named Riko Amanai, a girl chosen to be a sacrifice for Master Tengen, an entity which maintains the barrier protecting Jujutsu High. Their mission was to protect Riko from being captured or killed before she can fulfill her purpose, which is to merge with Master Tengen. Along the way, they encountered Toji Fushiguro, who is also known as the Sorcerer Killer. Geto saw Rika die before his eyes when Toji shot her in the head. Toji had initially defeated Gojo before he went to Rika and Geto. However, Toji did not kill Geto after he defeated him in fear that it might release the curses that Geto has acquired. Geto wakes up to find Gojo carrying Rika in his arms. Gojo miraculously was able to do a reverse curse technique to escape the clutches of death brought by Toji. In the midst of all of this, the followers of the Star religious group were applauding for Rika's death. As a result, Gojo snapped and asked Geto, "Do you want to murder them all?" Geto answers that there needs to be a reason for Jujutsu sorcerers to kill. Gojo walks away, carrying Rika's dead body in his arms. This moment, however, stayed with Geto and slowly formed a darkness in his heart. He tried his best to maintain his ideology, which is that Jujutsu sorcerers exist to protect non-sorcerers. From that point on, Gojo became the strongest alone, and Geto began to go on more dangerous missions without Gojo. He was stuck in an endless cycle of exorcism and consumption, with the image of the Star religious group applauding for Rika's death. He eventually started to question from whom he was doing all of these things for. He is reminded of the fact that he saw hideous evil that day and still chose to protect them, an action that he grew to regret. For the first time, he now refers to non-sorcerers as monkeys. Yuki Tsukumo visited Jujutsu High and she saw Geto Suguru with Yu Haibara. After Yu departed for a mission, Yuki conversed with Geto. Yuki begins her discussions of her mission to end all curses in this world. In order to put an end to them once and for all, Yuki sought to destroy the main source. She wants to teach non-sorcerers Jujutsu or find a means to remove cursed energy from their body because they expel it at a rate considerably higher than that of sorcerers. Geto abruptly cuts the conversation by asking, why not just kill all non-jujutsu sorcerers? Yuki dismisses it by saying she's not that crazy enough to do such a thing. She asks Geto if he hates non-sorcerers. He wasn't able to answer immediately. He replied that he used to think protecting non-sorcerers was the right thing to do, but began doubting it if they are worth fighting for. He wasn't able to tell the difference between the preciousness and ugliness of the weak. He compared being a Jujutsu sorcerer to running a marathon where the finish line is unclear. Yuki advised him to choose between the side of him that's devoted to being a Jujutsu sorcerer and the other side that looks down on non-sorcerers. Up next, Geto learns that Yu Haibara was killed during a mission and Nanami was severely injured. Yu Haibara's death deeply affected Geto, and this made him change his idea of being a Jujutsu sorcerer. It no longer became a marathon where the finish line is unclear, but rather a marathon where the end is a mountain of his fellow sorcerers' corpses. On a mission following that incident, Suguru finds two young girls being mistreated by non-sorcerers for having curse-related abilities. Geto finally made his decision at that moment. He rescued the two young girls, Mimiko and Nanako Hasaba, and killed all 112 residents of the village, officially becoming a curse user and leaving his past life behind, Jujutsu High and his best friend, Gojo Satoru. Geto finally chose the true side of himself, a man who looks down on non-sorcerers and seeks to eliminate all of them, to make a world that is only comprised of Jujutsu sorcerers. Later on, he appeared in Jujutsu Kaisen 0 and became the main antagonist from that point on. Although, technically speaking, after Jujutsu Kaisen 0, he is no longer Geto. If you caught on to the manga, you'll know what I mean. Soon after becoming a curse user, Suguru was able to take over the remnants of the Time Vessel Association and other like-minded religious groups. Doing so created a legitimate base of operations of cursed humans to seek exorcisms, allowing Geto to absorb their curses or exploit them for money. In the Jujutsu Kaisen 0, Suguru declared war on Jujutsu High during the night parade of 100 demons. His true goal was to kill Yuta Okotsu and steal his special grade vengeful spirit, Rika Oromoto, from him. However, he was defeated by Yuta and he was seen escaping through an alley. He was severely injured that he could not walk anymore, so he sat on a curb. Gojo finally arrived at the scene, and the two had a brief conversation about the events that happened that day. Gojo asked Geto for any last words. Even on the verge of death, he decided to stick to his principles. Gojo leans towards him and mumbles something on his ear. Geto smiles and says, "You should at least curse me in the end." Geto then dies at the hands of Gojo. In my opinion, Geto Suguru is such a well-written character. I honestly can't wait to see more of him in the Culling games and how his character will develop. Geto Suguru is a classic example of a fallen hero. A hero that fell during the most defining point of his life, the dark night of the soul. He reminds me of Anakin Skywalker, who became Darth Vader in the prequel Star Wars movies, and Shinobu Sensui from Yu Yu Hakusho. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to this channel to see more fan arts with voiceovers. If you want to make any suggestions for future fan arts, follow me on Instagram at artprincess399 and on Facebook Saito Takeda. I also have a Patreon link in the description that allows you to download the Procreate file, video, and Procreate brushes. I have also provided the references I've used for this artwork. Enjoy the rest of the video. See ya!